Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content. And if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Herman Knives Sting. Really cool and much less expensive than the Slim that I showed here on the channel a while back. I'm sure some of you remember that. I showed an ultra custom Damascus and Damacor Herman Slim that was awesome, but really expensive. And thanks to at Sierra_bound on Instagram, please give him a follow. Thanks to him, I learned that Mr. Herman does actually make less expensive, more base form, but less expensive versions of his knives. And what's cool is, as far as I can tell, it is the exact same level of quality that you can expect from the really expensive hyper custom variants, right? It's just in your titanium, your M390, which is what this is. And there's some other really interesting details, but yeah, much less expensive. So I was really pumped to have an opportunity to take a look at these. By the way, where can you get them? You can only get them at Polish Custom Knives. I will link Polish Custom Knives right down below. Availability on this guy comes and goes, as is the case with all Herman knives, because these are not like mass produced. Each one is kind of, they have kind of a typical, standard finish, standard, stuff like that. But each one is semi-unique. Some of them are more unique than others, right? But these are all made in small batch. So there are, knives that Herman Knives makes that are available right now. But as far as the Sting goes, it kind of comes and goes. So I invite you to check them out. Absolutely. And by the way, if Polish Custom Knives is watching, you guys are really nice. You're really nice and easy to talk to. I've had a wonderful experience with them on Instagram. Really good people. So yeah, please do check them out. Thanks so much to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Sorry, my tape measure is way over here today. Not a huge knife, but not a small knife either. The overall length of the Herman Sting is coming in at 7.75 inches overall. The blade length is coming in at about 3 1/4, and your cutting edge is also coming in just shy of 3 1/4. So good ratios there. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Wrap Model 1 and, of course, the Ontario Wrap Model 2. I think we need to move this guy down just a bit. So there you go. You can see here it's definitely kind of in between. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3? I think once again we're going to have kind of an in-between situation. Yeah, so there you go. And last but not least, of course, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. Sorry, I had to switch hands there. And its little brother, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. So this is kind of like, it's kind of 85% of the Benchmade Griptilian. I've found that because of the ergonomic lines, it really works. It's like I don't necessarily need the slight extra that comes with the Benchmade Griptilian or Ritter Hogue, which is an excellent, very preferable carry knife, right? There's some elements here in the size, and it's very good. We will continue to talk about that here. Now, I would do a hardware check for you guys, but what we have here is a proprietary pivot. My thing is I'd rather it just be Torx, but it is. Here's what's cool. They offer a wide variety of different pivots. Like if you're going to have something made, there's a bunch of different pivots. In fact, if you go look at everything from Herman Custom Knives, there's a whole bunch of different stuff. Sometimes you'll see this pivot on, a much more expensive knife, and maybe it'll be polished. Maybe it'll have little details or a different collar around it. In this case, we actually have carbon fiber laid into the other side of this one, which is really, that's a nice little touch, right? So each knife, and I wasn't sure about this when I handled the Slim, each knife comes with its own tool, and they do send the tool with you, right? Or to you with the knife. So that's great. It is a problem if you lose the tool, right? Now I would imagine you can still contact him and be like, hey, I lost the tool. Can I get another one? Maybe, right? So that's kind of an issue, but at least there is a tool. So, okay, it'd be better if it was Torx, but it is kind of neat that you can have these little custom designed pivots, right? And then the body screws are T6, okay? A couple for the pocket clip, couple for the frame. What I do like is that the screws the screws are going all the way through, which has never really bothered me. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera. But they dome these off and then polish them. I just really like that. I just think that looks cool. It looks so much better than if they just left the screw head just raw and like chopped off. It looks a lot better. So disassembly does require the tool. As far as I know, the bearings are not caged, which by the way, it's another reason why, and I'm going to be plugging another channel here, but truthfully, that's why I enjoy Nick Shabazz so much, is because he takes apart a lot of knives that I have never taken apart or do not have the opportunity to take apart, so I can get an idea of seeing the inside. If you want to see the inside of this knife and how it's, taken apart and put back together, check out Nick Shabazz's disassembly of that. That is so helpful for people like me who can't always take apart every single knife, right, that is sent in. In this case, because I don't have the proprietary tool, and because it's up to the people who send me their stuff. They get to tell me yes or no, you can and can't do it. And that's fine, right? But thank you. I appreciate Nick Shabazz doing that. It's really cool. So the bearings are not caged. They're also not in line. They're kind of like, you've seen like the bearing cages where there's like kind of a row like in the middle, and maybe like 5, and then there's like more, and they're kind of scattered or staggered. That's what it looks like on the inside. And they basically how that translates to action is, oh, very good, right? But yeah, they're not like, you're not going to take it apart and have them roll all over the place. That's not what's going to happen. Anyways, let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here, this guy is contoured a little bit, and it's a little bit thicker than the Para 3, but the knife has this slim presence. It's weird. It's honestly kind of shocking that it is thicker than the Para 3, but it's not by much. It's just a little bit there. Okay, no big deal. Let's go ahead and do height and length up against the the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here, this is about the same, maybe a little bit longer than the Para 3. Height, even with the flipper tab, is not coming in as tall as the Para 3 or PM2, so I'm okay with that. Nowhere near as long as the PM2. So, wait, what are we looking at here on the inside of this guy? Of course, the scales are titanium, and you can see, can we see in there? Are we going to get it? Can we see? There we go. Milling on the inside. It's actually, I believe, present. Well, there's a pocket for the titanium liner lock. But yeah, there is internal milling. Blade stock thickness on this guy, I'm going to guess that's about 145 thousandths. That's just a shot in the dark, but we'll find out here in a sec. Blade stock thickness on the Sting is coming, 130 thousandths, so nowhere near as thick as I thought. Not a lot of material here, right? I'm going to guess this comes in at about 4 ounces. Let's find out. 3.74 ounces. So ratios are pretty good on this guy. This is not a weight that bothers me. On this channel, anything that's under 3 ounces is actually considered ultra lightweight to me, right? This is not a knife I consider heavy or cumbersome for any reason whatsoever, right? For those of you wearing, if you're going to be walking around in athletic shorts, right, or really, really tight fitted pants, maybe, but for the vast majority of people, probably be okay, right? And then people, of course, some people are limited by legality, so just be careful about that. Let's go ahead and talk about this knife. So texturing on this, I always want to call this fluted, and I don't know that that's actually accurate. But in any case, the milling pattern on this is really, really nice. It does add a level of texturing that you can feel, but it's not overly aggressive. In fact, it's not aggressive at all. It's just really nice. And because of how the lines are, right, these vertical lines, when you grip it, it does actually provide a little bit of traction, which is cool because titanium can be a little bit slippery. In this case, we have kind of, I'm going to call this maybe antiqued bronze, right? That's kind of like the darker areas, and some of the peaks come in a little bit lighter. This is nice, but he also does blue, and he does more of a, just regular tumbled finish. It looks really good. I like how this looks. And like I said, that there are versions of these. Like if you go and look at Polish custom knives right now, you'll see varying levels of extra that are, a part of some of these knives. Sometimes you'll see like they'll do inlays of carbon fiber, or they'll do something special with the pivot, right? Maybe they'll do something crazy with the backspacer. In this case, I know I've seen titanium backspacers. In this case, we actually also have a carbon fiber backspacer, right? They'll do little things like that, and that'll add cost to them. So it's kind of neat. You might see one, around the $550 mark, and you might see one around the $800 mark, and then, a page later, you'll see one for $2,000. It just depends on what they do. The more you pay, the more work is going to go into the knife. It's very obvious that there's more. It's not just like we're going to slap something in there that only takes us 5 seconds, but we're going to charge you an extra $500 for it. No, No, the extra steps up that I've seen, it looks like they are doing crazy amounts of extra work to make sure that you're getting what you're paying for. That's really cool. I like that. I mean, as I was looking at the scale of kind of what they charge, and I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's a great deal of extra complexity there. The cool thing is, there's a great deal of extra complexity in this. Look at this area they carve under the pocket clip. Oh, that's neat. Texturing on the pocket clip. The machine work all the way around in this guy is really impressive. I love the pivot. And what's cool is the shape of it looks nice, and it's also captive. And then they've in this one, they've inlaid carbon fiber. Oh, it's just a nice little detail. This knife has simple lines, and I like simple lines. I like simplicity, the initial aesthetic. Ooh, that's nice. It's straightforward. And then you look at it and you, oh, look at all these little details. I like that. That's cool. I'm a big fan of that. So ergonomically, yeah, I'm a big fan. Here's the thing. Pocket clip, I like how it looks. I like the area they've carved out underneath it. I think it's too long. I mean, some people are going to like the length of the pocket clip. Some people aren't. I'd like to see the pocket clip maybe be about here. And I'm trying to think where, like right in the middle, right. The pocket clip's hitting me about right here, and I can feel it. I feel like if it was more here, maybe I wouldn't feel it as much just because of the curvature of my hand, but that's my hand, right? Everybody's hands are different. I'm also not a huge fan of super long clips, right? I mean, if it's a much longer knife, then you know, percentage-wise, it's not taking up. In this case, what is this? 65, 70% the length of the handle. I'd kind of like to see the pocket clip cut off about right here, but okay, it is what it is. It is a little bit of I can definitely feel it there, right? But it's not overly sharp or aggressive. I can just feel it. So, okay, it is what it is. Areas all the way around. I mean, the corners and everything, chamfering is all done just really, really well. I mean, these areas are very, very nicely knocked down, and it's just great. This is a very comfortable knife outside of the position of the pocket clip or just where it's touching me. It's very comfortable. And I appreciate this area down here where it just lets my finger just move where it wants to, right? It's not like try to get your hand. That's not a good example. What's a good example? Like now the PM2 is a bad example because the handle's so long you can find space no matter what. But this thing's like put it in here, right? If it comes back to the edge, it's so, you know, kind of aggressively dropping, so your pinky's wanting to slip off, but it's really wanting to get your pinky behind there. And that's fine. In some, you know, usage situations, you are going to want to be locked in like that. But for me, day-to-day EDC, I like this kind of slow drop down to the edge. It's just like, here you go. Here's the amount of room that we've got on the handle, but you can make use of all of it because everywhere it's comfortable, right? If you want to move back here, you're fine. Everything's rounded off. It's really, really comfortable. There's no jimping back here. I don't think it necessarily needs it. I'm very comfortable with this knife. I'm also very appreciative of the access to the lock bar. Look at the just little teeny tiny teeth in there. Not aggressive teeth, but just a little thing that they did. We just want to make sure that you can. We just want to make sure that you can access it. It's really nice. This area right here is cut out exactly enough. Not so much that it's ugly, just enough to be able to come across, access that lock bar, right? By the way, the action, there you go. And yeah, basically drop shut, but nice and controlled. So the flipper tab is a little bit pointy, but I don't find it super aggressive, right? I mean, you can see there, it's knocked down. Everything's great. You can light switch it and you can push button it. By the way, did you hear that? Listen. Yeah, these knives sing a little bit. I kind of like that. The first time that I handled a Herman knife, I thought, I wonder if that was an accident. I wonder if there's just debris in there getting caught between the ceramic detent ball and the face of the tang. No, they all just kind of sing. I think it sounds cool. I think it sounds really, listen. I like it. I think that's cool. The action is very good. The detent on this guy is a little bit on the lighter side. Now, because of the shape of the flipper tab, weight and mass of the blade, and how they've got the lock bar tension tuned and all that, it will flip, right? It definitely will. I can't help but think, and maybe it's because I just prefer a heavier detent, or I've been handling knives for so long that just have a heavier detent, I'm like, I want that heavier. I kind of would prefer that it was a little lighter. Why? People are like, why? You're flipping it just fine. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels a little bit on the lighter side. So some knives, you know, if I try really hard, I can fail them because if you watch here, yeah, see, if I apply as light a pressure as possible, I can, right? Now, does that mean there's anything wrong with it? No, because if you flip it the way that you're supposed to, right? Here's what happens. When I pick this up, right, I kind of lay my finger down here. It's kind of a habsy kind of, I'm not really paying attention. I kind of lay my finger down here and I just pull. Most of the time it'll flip. Every now and then I'll do this and I'll hope it doesn't come all the way out, right? And that's because of the way that I have adapted to knives and what I have come to expect from a detent, right? But when I adapt to this knife, once, now when I pick it up, I'm like, I remember how you gotta approach it a little bit different, right? So the detent's not heavy enough to where you absolutely cannot fail it, which is me and my snobbery. It's like, that's the kind of but is it wrong? Is it bad? No, it's not. I just personally am kind of like, oh, it's a little bit on the lighter side. So you got to make sure if you're going to push button it, you got to make sure and push button it with a certain amount of buildup or pressure before you release it. And if you're going to light switch it, you got to commit to light switching it. You can't do this and you got to do one or the other, and you got to, know which knife you're picking up. So there you go. Action though, as far as like, how smooth it feels on the inside. Oh yes. Oh yeah. This is primo, guys, for sure. This is premium in terms of just making sure that all the surfaces on the inside are nice and smooth so that the flipper tab and the blade can do what they've got to do when you pull. The blade itself is excellent. Holy crap. This thing is ready for EDC. This is not a thick blade stock, as I mentioned before, and it is fully flat ground. So it does come down to a nice thin, very nice thin edge. Absolutely. This is going to be a performance slicer for use, right? Just like almost no matter what it is that I'm doing, just like all the way around, balance and versatility. A fully flat ground drop point blade is my favorite type of blade to use because it just glides through everything like butter. It's just awesome. Nothing in the cutting path, nothing to slow you down. Finish on the blade is good. It's kind of a darker tumbled finish. I'd kind of like to see them do a finish. It's kind of a more reflective tumbled finish, but this looks great. I like how this looks. The whole thing kind of has this, they do the darker tumbled finish and they do kind of the antiqued bronze, and it looks like, it's nice, but it's been around a little bit, right? I like it. I like how they do the logo. They've actually, it's not like, right, it's actually kind of carved into the blade a little bit, and it looks nice and it feels nice. Not something that's going to slow you down while cutting. On the other side, it just says M390. That's perfect. We don't need anything else. That's all they put on the blade. So I like that. It looks really, really good. Corners up here, nicely knocked down. Tip feels great. It is very sharp. Very well sharpened, absolutely. I got nothing to complain about with the blade here. Absolutely nothing. I think it's just fantastic. Nice sharpening trail there. Looks really good. So we have a backspacer on this guy. This one is not floating, but some of them are floating. This one is carbon fiber. You can see right there. Like I said, there's lots of different options. You can get a more plain backspacer. You can get a more complicated one, right? It just depends on what they've got available and what it is that you're looking for. A couple of screws holding in the pocket clip. One of the pocket clip screws actually is going all the way through to the other side, just for your information. You will have to remove the pocket clip to get at these two screws, which are right here. That's what you're seeing. What are these? That's actually what's holding in the titanium liner lock. I have come to find that when it comes to a flipper knife, this is my favorite setup. There are lots of different weird flippers out there, right? You've got some, with Spyderco, they'll do a compression lock flipper. Sometimes, there are axis lock. I think there are axis lock flippers out there, axis lock style flippers. There are, of course, a bajillion exposed frame lock flippers, and those are fine. But I like this countersunk titanium liner lock. I like that. Why? Because no matter where I put my hands on this side, especially, actually, it's funny. I was about to say, especially with a knife that's got a light detent, right? Well, I was about to say on an exposed frame lock, if you're going to be putting excess pressure on the lock, right? Then the ball pushes up against the tang face, and then it can make it harder to flip. It's funny, maybe that would even it out here in this situation. Probably not. In any case, I don't want to have to worry about where to put my hands, and I don't have to do that because this liner lock is nested inside of the titanium scale on this side. I love that. That's my preference, right? I mean, if I was going to spend a ton, honestly, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Hinderer knives. I'll take. I would like them to do an XM18 like that, a 3.5 inch. They've done a little skinny 3-inch like that before, but it's just a liner lock. But a nested titanium liner lock is just awesome. And this guy does, by the way, have Where did that blasted flashlight? Did it seriously disappear? Okay. Oh, there it is. Holy cow. This does have a steel lock bar insert in there. You can see that. That's cool, man. That's just great. I'm a big fan of this whole setup, and it does take that takes extra work to nest that in there and to get it exactly right. It's just fantastic. I'm not too concerned with the lock strength. Some people might say, well, what about the lock strength? I mean, isn't a frame lock strong? I think for what you're gonna do with this knife, right? I mean, I've been using the freaking rat. I use this thing harder than people are always like, it looks so clean. It's because I clean my knives. But yeah, I've been using this thing harder than probably anything else in my collection for years. It's fine. It's just a liner lock. I'm not doing anything excessively insane or stupid with my knives, right? So this is fine. It's gonna work. Lockup, by the way, very solid. No play up, down, left, or right. You can see there's the stop pin. I think it's plenty robust. You do have shouldering, which is nice, rounded nicely all the way around the stop pin. Why? Why do I point that out? Because it decreases wear over time. Between the lock face or the lock bar, and the contact with the face of the tang, and then the back of it, right? It's those are the parts that are interacting with the blade. So the more surface contact between those two pieces, the slower it wears over time. It's already going to wear slow because it's steel on steel contact, but that insert there. Anyways, I don't need to go into detail about that. It's a really good setup. That's if you were wondering why does he say that? No lock stick, and the blade is nice, and I think I might have been flipping this. Sorry. That we have shadows on one side, so let me get this nice and up close here. Yeah, the blade is centered. So this light over here is a little more powerful today because I need to change the way that I've got this other one mounted. So we have shadows coming through that are going to make that look off. But the blade is absolutely centered. There is no detent lash. I know people want to know about that when they're going to spend this type of money on a knife. What is detent lash? It's when the blade is in the closed position, and if you grab the flipper tab and kind of move it up and down, if you can feel the blade going click, 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 that's detent lash. I hate that. I think I hate that more than anything. Really hate it. This knife does not have it. Whew. Little nitpicks. It's got a proprietary pivot. Detent is fine. It's just a little tiny bit weak. I wish it was a little bit heavier. Pocket clip, I think, is too long. Maybe about right. Maybe about right there. That'd be great. Other than that, what can I complain about here? Not much, guys. This is a pretty awesome knife. What do these come in at? Like I said, at base, these are running about $540, $550, something like that. Do I think that's a fair price for? I know, there's always, it's just titanium and M390. It's not the materials, guys. It's the form that it takes, the amount of work that goes into it. There's a huge difference between something like this and something like a $150 or $200 production titanium frame lock that's using the exact same materials. The effort that has gone into this knife, the work that has gone into it shows, right? The final form it's a better form. This is a better form of knife. Whether every single person on the planet appreciates those extra qualities, right? That's a different story. If you value this type of stuff, then you're really going to like this. If you don't value it, stick with the $120, $150, the $200 frame locks that make you happy. That's fine. But for those of you looking for that extra, those extra polishes, those extra little details, there are elements that I'm feeling in this knife that, I've definitely also experienced in knives that cost hundreds of dollars more. This is super duper high quality. Absolutely. Are these models at base worth the $540, $550 you're going to pay for them? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And if you decide to go with one that's more expensive, are you going to get your money's worth? Yeah. I've actually handled 3 different models from Herman knives, and something that I always look for, like if I get one, right, if the first one I've ever handled, I'm like, wow, that's amazing, right? I always want to wait and see, is it consistent? Am I feeling the same thing throughout the different models? Am I feeling the same level of quality? Yeah. They are very consistent. These are consistently made, and as a result, are extremely recommendable. The only, one of the only problems is that they're small batch, right? It's not like Herman can pump out 1,000 of these in a day. It's just not going to happen, right? So you are limited to what is available. That's just going to be the case. But I would urge you to check out Polish Custom Knives and see what else is out there. I wouldn't shy away from any model from Herman Knives. I've looked through and seen the different models that he's doing, what's available right now. They all look great. They all kind of take on a similar aesthetic with variances in overall length and blade shape and slight variances in the handle profile, things like that. And then you, of course, have different, different anodization colors and different inlay materials, things like that. He actually works with M390, with Damasteel, with Damacore, right? Maybe some other stuff, a few different finishes, things like that. I'm sure you can find something that, might, bring you some joy. But yes, absolutely. Are these recommendable? 100% they are. I'm going to be putting this knife in my most recommended knives playlist. This was an absolute joy. And it's been really cool kind of getting to, talking with Polish Custom Knives, which is, by the way, the exclusive retailer for Herman Knives. It's been really nice getting to know them. And it's also been really cool just kind of understanding their catalog, right? I mean, Herman Knives. It's been really cool, like kind of looking over their models and looking over every last little thing that they do. It's neat. You can find some videos out there on YouTube of sort of introduction to the maker and how they, how he does what he does. And it's like professionally edited and professionally, it's wonderful. It's really cool to watch. So I would urge you to check that out as well. Guys, I think that's going to be pretty much it. Thanks again to @Sierra_bound on Instagram. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are, lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.